Peace be to you all. Assalamualaikum. Omar here. Happy Sunday to you. We are approaching the end of December, which means we are approaching the end of the year, that being 2022 by the Gregorian calendar. So everybody, or not everybody, a lot of people have made goals, New Year's resolutions, and yeah, many of us have not even accomplished our resolutions from the beginning of 2022. And that, you know, that's typical of a lot of us, and there's not necessarily anything evil about that. It's just stuff comes up and we make excuses. And one of those excuses actually is age. And that segues into my topic, which is many of us stop ourselves from doing things and or pursuing certain goals because we think we're too old, myself included. And you know, my wife and I are both in our 50s, and we were discussing this concept one evening. I said, well, you know, if you didn't know how old you were, how old would you be? You know? And it seems like a weird question. But you say, well, if somebody asked you, how old were you? And you said, well, I really don't know. And maybe you would look at your license or maybe your birth certificate to check your age. But then, lo and behold, all traces of your birth date had disappeared, had been erased. And maybe you could Google yourself. Maybe you're famous enough to be on Wikipedia or something. But wow, your date of birth isn't there. So you don't know how old you are. So maybe you would do like many of us and try to look at certain milestones that you had accomplished. High school graduation, maybe college graduation, some kind of trade. Maybe length of time you think you've been with your significant other. Maybe your kids, you know. Our kids they're young adults that range in age from 14 to 22. They say, okay, maybe I'm in my mid-40s. And maybe you would ask people how old they were and then look at them and kind of gauge your age based on their age, how they look, how they appear. And you could kind of estimate. But maybe you would be off by 5 to 10 years, depending on those factors. And I say that my grandfather died a little more than 10 years ago. And hey, how you doing? My dad said, well, you know, my dad, speaking about his dad, said he really didn't know how old he was. He was born on a farm, and possibly sometime in the early 1900s, like in 1916 or something, or as possibly as late as the early 1920s. He really didn't know. You know, back then, you know, black folks weren't allowed into mainstream hospitals, especially, and he was born in the South. They didn't let colored folks in there, and maybe, you know, if there was no doctor around, you know, babies were delivered by the town midwife. So he had an idea of how old he was, you know, my grandfather. So I think that he was as young as like early 90s to possibly close to 100. And it was kind of interesting because I thought about that. I was like, wow, you know, that's an interesting perspective to have on life. And how many of us are stopping ourselves because we reach a certain age. And, you know, this is typical of our society. Like there's certain things he says, all right, you can't run for president until you're this age. You can't drive until you're this age. You can't vote until you're this age. So it's a real quantitative factor in our lives, at least here in the United States. But when it comes to your goals, you know, it doesn't necessarily, it should hopefully play a decreasing factor in some of the things you might want to achieve. Now, for me, I'm in my mid-50s now, 54. But I'm nowhere near as fast as I used to be. Man, I used to be a beast back in my late 20s. But I do the best I can. I'm doing, I think it's going to be about 9 miles. Lord willing, inshallah. But I'm shuffling along, and I'm doing the best I can. But as far as other goals that I may have, you know, I shouldn't let that necessarily stop me because of my age, I don't think. And same thing for you guys. Oh, this is really hard. It's really cold out here. It's beautiful, but cold. Yeah, this is Sligo Creek. And you don't know how long you're going to live. So this young man, I think his name was Tristan. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but he was a dancer on this show called the Ellen DeGeneres show. And the guy apparently committed suicide. 40 years old. Nice looking brother, yeah? You know, nice wife, nice kid. You know, had some fame and notoriety. Presumably some money that went along with it. And it looks like he committed suicide. And even the dude, I forgot that guy's name. He played, there's another guy who committed suicide several weeks ago. He played the White Ranger in the Power Rangers. Say, like, young, also, around the same age. And I thought, you know, what happens to people where they're so plagued by their inner demons that they end their lives, you know, earlier than they might end biologically? I mean, I would love to be 14 years older than this guy was. So you never know, you know, that still goes along with my topic of age, because, you know, maybe you're going to die younger than you think, and that makes you older. So if you're 40 years old, and let's say you die when you're 45, you know, you're older than somebody who is my age in their mid-50s, but is going to live to their 80s. And that's life. That's something else to think about. You know, so don't let your age stop you. Just try, even if things don't work out. I used to never get passed up on my runs. Now I do. It hurts my ego. But that's part of getting a little bit older. And that's okay. All right, guys. I wish you guys the best of success in your positive endeavors. Subscribe if you want. If you want to be a PA, a physician associate like me, you can reach out to me. It's a great profession. I've been doing it for more than 20 years. And I'm a health educator too, which is also awesome. Okay, guys. Oh yeah, and I didn't finish my doctorate until I was 42. So back in 2012. So I just did it. All right. Hey, take care. Peace.